got it.
I can't hear you.
Permaculture power! Is that better?
Yeah, so here, let me introduce the spot. So, everybody knows Gaia's Gardens. What a tremendous book, huh? What a tremendous book. Inspiration to scores of people to restore. I'm seeing this as holistic stewardship. You know, more than just growing a garden. Because of course Toby Hemingway understands permaculture. He understands the integration of how everything in life on the planet, in our world, is connected with everything else. So how we garden, how we live, it all is connected. So it's really about as we go to provide ourselves with food through gardens, how we approach that, and how we do it in a good way. You know.
Working with nature instead of against it. He really understands, like you said, the integration of nature with edibles for humans, and what it takes for us to, feed ourselves and leave the rest to nature. In a small space, and leave the rest.
How many people here are familiar with the book? I know we got a number, and have participated in this. A lot of study groups have emerged out of the inspiration of this book. And in St. Pete, there's a very active one. And you folks, you get together every 2 weeks, twice a month. And
at least twice a month to study the book and to gather ourselves together in a structured study group.
Yeah, and of course this was pioneered by or spearheaded by Bill Bilodeau.
That's
right.
Right.
In St. Pete.
Well, let me tell you. Can I tell you the story?
Yeah, please.
So about 3 years ago, I did my permaculture design course in December of '09, and then that January, Corey Brennan had done an introduction to permaculture, where David Raines was in that introduction with, no, I don't see anyone else. In that introduction, there was about 25 people, and he wanted to continue to do it before the fall permaculture design course. So Corey recommended that they study a book. And Bill Bilodeau and David Raines and Emmanuel Rue and I were going down to Echo's farm. Has anybody been to Naples, Echo Farm? Yeah. We were all going down there together, and David, I don't know if anybody knows David Ranch, but when he wants something, he's like one of those little nippy chihuahuas that just...
It doesn't look.
We really need to study this book, study a book. Corey said we should study a book because I'm afraid I'm going to lose all my, everything that she told me. So we're walking, Bill, David, and I. Emmanuel was buying some plants because he already had Oakdale Community Garden that he was buying plants for. And Bill says, well, what book should we study? And I had just finished reading the first version of that. And I was so excited about this book. And I said, let's do Gaia's Garden. Because it's just an amazing book. It turned my life around. Just reading the book broke up everything that I understood about gardening and growing food. It just changed my whole way of thinking. I said, that would be a great book to do. And Bill said, okay. And he calls Ken Benway up in Georgia, and Ken Benway had a meetup.com for the Permaculture Guild that he and Corey Brennan started. So Ken walked him through how to set up a meetup on that website, and it happened at his house the first time, and about 8 people showed up. And then the next time it happened at David's house, and it was going to keep moving around like that, but we found the shuffleboard courts, and we got to start going. By the third event that we put on, which was to go to see the Earth ship, over 70 people showed up. So we knew that it was like something. And now we started with like 70 people in the meetup, and now there's over 420.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah, and you're in there too. And so it's grown and networked, and Andy comes from Clearwater. Most of us are from St. Petersburg, so we're pretty, but Andy comes from Clearwater, and the 3 goals that Bill set out for our study group to achieve was to education, and education through studying the book and doing field trips. At that time, we went to Jim Kovaleski's, who just did the hugelkultur. We went to his place and got to see how he does beauty with growing vegetables. I mean, it's just beautiful what he does with, if anybody hasn't been to Jim Kovaleski's, that's a good field trip. So we went to field trips and for the education, and then we were community. We were going to work with each other and help each other out in our gardens, and that led us to action. So education, community, and action. And we designed a way to, we had we split into groups, leadership group, communication group, action groups, and event groups. And after about 1.5 years, we kind of had these growing pains. And we were making decisions as a leadership team. I was on the leadership team, and with Bill and Neil and Sharon and Emmanuel. And Emmanuel brought let me go to Faith House Community. We sponsored Faith House Community Garden on 10-10-10 for 350.org. And in that event, it kind of solidified us as like a working group for our community. And Faith House was a halfway house that had a lot that they weren't using for overflow traffic for a large event for the Tropicana. And Emmanuel has a community garden in Oakdale, and one of the CEOs, and it's a long drawn out story, probably you don't need all that information, but saw Emmanuel in his community garden, said, hey, can you create that at the Faith House? And he brought us all in. We did design charrettes.
Tell them how much space.
How much was it? About this?
2 acres?
Was it 2 acres?
think
Yeah,
pretty
2
close.
acres.
2 acres.
Yeah, it was.
In
It was
downtown
like
St.
this much.
Petersburg.
In downtown St. Petersburg, being mowed every week.
Did rain catch me?
You know, nothing but being mowed in a fence in the middle of the city with some oak trees, nice oak trees, and some honeybees. And the grass would get this tall, and the honeybees would do as much as they could, you know, in that time with the flowers that would come up. And then, you know, it'd get mowed every week. So now that piece of wow, I wish I had the photos from that. How it started out
That
is just and then the sheep. We did a sheep mulching, much like the hugelkultur there.
We did.
Andy and Ken donated. Andy J. Hardman, yeah, who was here
Jungle
yesterday.
J.
Yeah, Jungle J.
Neil Brown.
Put in, and Neil put in the tanks, water tanks.
Water catchment.
13 huge
500,
cubes
500
of
gallons,
575. Yeah,
275.
275. That's right.
Multiples.
1,000 pounds.
Yes, 1,000 pounds of water.
So they put down 2 layers of cinder blocks, leveled them all out. I mean, it was brilliant what these guys were doing, digging, and you tell them.
Yeah, we have
about
underground PVC, which is hooking them all up. And we've had the buildings for the residents, for the people who stay there. We end up putting gutters in those and feeding them into these tanks, and that's providing pretty much almost all the water they need for doing their thing. It was a little short to start off with, but once we got things established, it's pretty much providing all the needs now.
And Jay
Put
in
a pond
in.
Which is also coming off rainwater off one of the buildings. So we have, and it's growing tilapia in that pond.
Yep.
Yes.
Fish in
Wow.
there.
And they've got banana trees surrounding the pond.
Surrounding
Yeah.
that to keep it kind of encapsulated.
Chickens now.
Chicken.
Yeah, we have chickens now.
Really?
Yeah, and the
Keep trying to
beds.
make them illegal everywhere. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, St.
Well,
Petersburg
no,
has
St.
still got
Petersburg.
chickens.
Actually, I
We're
think St. Pete's
fighting
softening up on it.
For
again.
because there were so many of us at, they had a policy thing, and who was it that stood up in I think it was Gene Fisher or Marilyn. It was Marilyn Bartolo.
Yes, Marilyn Bartolo.
Stood up and said, I am having a limited income. Those chickens provide food for my family who cannot find jobs, and I need those chickens for eggs. And I need to have those eggs every day because sometimes if I get too many, I can even sell them. And that supplements my income so I don't have to use all the money you guys are paying me in Social Security.
Yeah, good for her.
You know, she really brought it around, and so there was also someone who was a member of Gaia's Guardians on the board, Kathy Harrelson, and we got chickens in St. Petersburg.
And a lot of other parts of the county are doing that now. The county itself allows chickens, and some of the other small communities in Pinellas County are allowing chickens.
Gulfport does too.
How are you housing the chickens there? How much free range are they? Do they have available at Faith?
I don't know how often they let them out of the bin. I'm sure when Emmanuel's there, he probably lets them out amongst the vegetables, but I don't know. I haven't gone there in a while.
City of St. Petersburg gets 4 chickens. Is what,
Okay.
Oh, is it 6? Maybe
It's
it's,
up
I
to
thought it was
six.
it's 6 now, but no roosters.
I think the county's 6.
Yeah.
But no roosters.
Sandy, where we got our chickens from, had said she just had a code inspector out there. This was a little over a year ago.
Okay.
He was actually taking her a rooster that somebody could not have.
Right.
And she flat asked him, says, where the codes stand? And she said, right now, he said in actuality, he says, you can have as much as you want as long as you're responsible for them and no roosters
Yes.
and no complaints.
Yeah, you have to have the agreement of your neighbors, and
You're not allowed to slaughter them on your property.
You're not allowed to slaughter them
slaughter
on your
next
property.
door.
On your property.
Take them to next door neighbor's property.
Street
slaughter.
It's a little timing. Hey, you take my chickens on your property. I'll
Well, my
take yours
chicken,
on
my neighbors love my eggs.
yeah,
I don't
it's
have too
it's
much of a problem.
indicative of Joel Salatin, who's coming to the area. You know, he wrote a book. Everything I want to do is illegal. Because he wants to, he has the cows. He has to load up his cows who've been on land, happily grazing their whole life, load them up to take them to an inspection place. Then he's got to, pay this tax guy and this tax guy and this tax guy and this, because everybody has to have a little
Piece of the
bit
pie.
of it. So, we're getting those laws and policies altered as much as we can. We just got the Chamber of Commerce just hired Corey Brennan to head up an urban agriculture sustainability initiative in St. Petersburg, in the city. Yeah.
And there's a lot of our schools, elementary schools and middle schools, that now have gardens on their grounds.
Yes.
Thanks to
Yeah.
initiatives of Kip
Well, the
Curtis.
problem is
Curtis.
they can't eat off of that.
They can.
Well, they
in,
can
in the
eat,
cafeteria.
they can, but they can't supply all the needs of the
Oh,
city.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, they could if they would give more than a little bit right there on the outside where it doesn't have, you know, where they are right now is far out from the regular school activities. There's no water. So by summer, with no activity for 3 months, yeah,
They didn't use permaculture design.
they
in their
did not
zones.
use permaculture design. Where's that book?
Now, isn't this what we're in right now, talking about the community aspect of the whole effort
Right.
to
Right.
to garden,
Yes.
and all the stuff that's come up with that. And there's no way for, I mean, we gather as a community and establish our relationships, but then we also have to integrate that with the greater community as it
Yes.
exists
You
now.
Yeah.
didn't bring up the permablitzes.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay, let's
Oh,
go to
I'm
that.
sorry. What about the permablitzes?
What about those?
What do you know about them?
Well, I know that I've been to one. I did one at Brennan's house.
Okay.
Next to his little tiny trailer and a little teeny tiny trailer park in St. Petersburg. And he is now producing to sell to stpetelocallygrown.net.
That's great. Permablitzing is an extraordinary phenomenon. I'm so inspired by that. I haven't participated. I haven't been so involved in my own garden here in developing it, but I think it's so amazing. And again, it's like a community building thing, because everybody
Yes.
comes in as volunteer, as just in a gift, like to use the
Time bank.
the thought, the thinking of like also Charles Eisenstein's
Absolutely.
sacred economics, based on gifting. Everything is based on gifting, not profiting, not, you know, like even fulfilling needs of,
Quid
you know,
pro
like
quo.
acquiring resources, but a gifting of our time and our
Yeah.
attention and our love
And our passion, you know,
passion.
giving it freely. You know, if I were a yellow flower, I'd just give the yellow flower to the bees in the sun. You know.
Well, the
But
last
I happen to
permablitz
be
we
a-
did was over 40 people helping at one lady's house.
And isn't it amazing? Let's say so.
We handled about 70 cubic yards of biomass.
And maybe we should say what permablitz really is.
Yeah, I was
People
gonna
don't
say,
know.
tell me what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
You've been
Let's
to
go
all
there.
of them, so you say it.
So what's
Yeah.
happening is people say, I want to convert my yard so it's I can grow food in my yard. So if you've been a member of the Gaia's Gardens, or Guardians now it's called, for a while, and somebody comes out and surveys your place and
Can
says,
I add
yeah,
this? We added that you have to volunteer at 5 events first, so you have some sweat and gain.
yes.
Sweat equity.
Sweat
Yes.
equity, that's
Okay.
a good term.
Okay, and they survey your place and try and work out a plan for it, and then somebody else comes in with materials, and often the homeowner has to pay for if there's any fees for the materials. That's like a mulch or green material or fertilizer, not fertilizer, for compost manure, stuff like that. And then one day, say a Sunday morning usually, all these people descend on that property and distribute all that stuff according to a plan that a couple other people worked out ahead of time for laying gardens on that property. Sometimes we just do the backyard, sometimes we just do the front, sometimes we do the side, sometimes we do the whole thing. Depends how big the property is. The last one we did was a very big property, so we only did the front. And
And there's a point to doing it in the front, right?
yeah,
Doing it in the front is an advertisement.
Right.
They would, and an enticement for other people.
And
Yes.
for the neighbors come out and they walk up and they're like, what are y'all doing? And then we engage them and they're like, you know, participating. I heard,
There were 3 neighbors of Carol's that helped.
yes.
yeah, and one of them said that it looked like if you were like in a helicopter, it would be like you kicked an ant bed and then all the little ants just scurried about doing their little
You know, and I can't help
work.
but to observe that. I'm picturing this, and I'm thinking, okay, so I want to like convert a typical lawn area
Yeah.
to a garden, and if I did it by myself, there's
Oh,
a certain,
yeah.
you know, okay, this is how long,
How
this
many
is how much
hours
work.
it's gonna
And
take
then
you.
to all of a sudden have like 40 people, or even it's 20 people coming, but boom, it's
Boom,
done.
boom, boom.
Wow, it's like such a beautiful demonstration
So
of the power of
Community.
yeah, and
Yeah, we're not
and
even pulling
unity.
up the grass or anything. As you find out in this book, one of the best ways to get rid of the grass is just put cardboard down and then sheet mulch on top of that. And so it's like an instantaneous change. In
And you
3
can-
hours, 4 hours, that whole yard's changed.
And you can plant immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately.
So the cardboard just disintegrates over time?
Yes.
Over time, yeah. But it
Becomes
kills the
worms
weeds.
like compost.
That's radical.
Yeah.
And when we laid down Brennan's, the people who had done the survey determined, what the shape of the garden was going to be. There was going to be a little round in the center
right.
with a go around, so you could get all the way around to do the gardening there. And then there was a little part over here and a little bit over here. And they laid that all out, and then they said, okay, now put on all the cardboard. And then they kind of said, okay, now mulch here, sheet mulch here, sheet mulch here. So then you had your pattern.
Yeah.
And once you have your
And your
pattern, then you can
paths.
start your layers and go from there. That's what's so cool. It isn't just a random thing where people are just throwing stuff all over your yard.
No.
It's a very
Matter of fact, that was the point that the neighbor made about Carol's lawn, is that this was like our 13th, 14th one, and we all knew what to do and how to go around each other. We've learned our patterns and where to get the mulch and stuff like that. So we're learning how to circle and be with each other in a way that it is actually a dance, like a ballet that we have now choreographed.
Yes.
Exactly, and it's beautiful
And
to
we
see
did
your
Google-
friends,
we
the
did a
people
Google
that you
culture over
adore
their
and
place,
hang
too.
out with
Oh, cool.
in their little, summer
when's your next
little
one?
hats.
Yeah.
I want to go.
I don't know where the next one is.
We don't have one lined up right now. But
If we do, I think they do.
Well, again, that's the sweat equity. You've got to put your time in. You've got to be a part of the community.
that's what you're talking about, the sweat equity.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there's
usually you're expected to participate in 5 or at least.
at least.
Oh, okay.
You earn it. You gotta earn it.
Have to
Yes.
earn it. And we're working with it. We're looking at the time bank in a way that, we're just kind of dancing with the conversation. Like Marie said last night, we don't have anything in stone. It's very new. But like the person who's receiving the PermaBlitz would have a bank of hours that they could actually offer to those of us in the community that could use those for other things. And again, we could go into debt in some way and then pay that back in our own way. I took PermaBlitz to the inside from the time bank. One of the things that I did with that is that I saw that some people needed some organizations, and I put in to organize. And I went to her house, and it was like beautiful. I'm like, really, you want me to organize this? But then I took permaculture principles, and I said, what you need in your zone 1, your zone 0, and your zone 1 is your kitchen. And let's get those things that you want to use immediately right at your fingertips. And then those things that you're only going to use at Christmas, up in the attic.
I want you to come to my house next.
And then I gathered 5 of my friends, and we went over there, and she gave us each time bank hours for 3 hours. We sat around for the first hour, just kind of like getting to know each other, because I like to talk a lot. And, then we drank coffee and had she also baked. And then in the next hour and a half, her house was completely, she had her closet and her attic in a way that she was like, I can handle it from here. Yeah. And we're all now like tight buddies. We can depend on each other for some things. Like we built community, we built, workability, and she is like grateful.
But that's a good point you're bringing up here, is that Gaia's Guardians started off as a gardening thing, and it's progressed now. It's not so much, there's more to it now. We've got the time bank going. We've got, we're doing right now an energy group, a transportation group. We're looking at all these different aspects of our lives and trying to figure out how we can make it more sustainable. We're still doing a lot of tours. So, it's more than just gardening now. But there are still a lot of people are just going for gardening.
Yeah, we have part of our people in the policy change with Corey Brennan in the Chamber of Commerce now. She's working with the food policy organization that are going to be looking at those chicken policies. They're going to be looking at what it takes for Tina and Nathan to actually sell food without having it be, like urban agriculture as a business in your yard, where we can produce something from our property and exchange it for something tangible.
Eggs.
It could be eggs. It could be, if I'm growing cotton, you know, I could be
I thought you were
doing
allowed to
something
grow and sell from your property.
It depends upon what community you live in.
and where you are and
I'm
what
an
it is.
Yeah, I'm an unincorporated Pinellas County, and in my
See,
understanding,
yeah, like here,
I can
probably
have,
yes.
I can sell what I grow on my property.
But we're in the city.
Oh.
We're in the city,
Just wanted
city,
because
city,
I have
incorporated,
big
incorporated.
plans, and,
Yeah.
and they hear
Commercial,
on these
commercial.
regulations.
Well, that's why the Food Policy Council exists, because they're trying
We're
to cut
looking
through
at
the
the-
crap.
I specifically bought property in unincorporated Pinellas County because I
Sure.
knew
Sure.
the regulations were going to be different.